Hello, Power Up Nation. I am Pat Council. And are you guys still in the mix in 2026? Are you still excited about making it happen? Are you still excited about your goals? Are you still focused on the goals that you would like to achieve and in the direction that you desire to go? Because you're going there, right? You're doing it. You have that excited, passionate feeling about a great outcome. And those great outcomes are going to happen. With that being said, today I want to talk about something that can put a damper on those passions, that can slow you down, and in some cases just cause you to stop. You see, when we know about things in advance and those kind of challenges that we might face, then we can overcome those obstacles. We can deal with those obstacles. So let's talk about how letting go helps you achieve goals. How letting go helps you achieve goals. How letting go can bring you the success that you desire to have in your life, can help you manifest it, can help it be visible, can help you touch it, feel it, be excited about it, and stay excited about it. So let's get into this. First of all, one of the things about letting go is sometimes people think that letting go means that you're giving up. Well, letting go is not about giving up. It's about releasing what doesn't serve you. It's about letting go of something that's actually stopping you from succeeding, stopping you from progressing so that you can serve your purpose, so that you can build your magnificent life, so you can be excited about that person that you see in the mirror, which you guys are already excited about yourself, right? You're already excited about who you see in the mirror. That's a yes. Well, I can't hear you, but I'm nodding my head yes, so let's just go with it, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to share some points on how letting go can help you, how not letting go will slow you down, and let's talk about what letting go really means. Again, when we understand, let's say, the what and the why, then we align ourselves or put ourselves in a position so that the how can kick in, the how can take place, meaning this allows God to do his thing. With that being said, here is a scripture that I like. I keep a list of scriptures that are kind of my favorites, or scriptures that will remind me to stay focused on a direction that I'm going in. But this one, it's early in the year, and I found myself thinking about or asking myself, okay, what do you want to do differently? What would you like to let go of? And so the scripture that I have that supports that, it says, remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? So here's the thing. You can't perceive anything on that next level or anything that takes you towards your goals if you are still holding on to what doesn't serve you. So let's talk about what letting go really means. First of all, when we hear letting go, a lot of times we think it means you're letting go of a person, and sometimes you're letting go of a job if you are really excited about entrepreneurship. So we think in terms of things. But before we even get to that point, so we'll know what to let go of, so we'll know the right things to let go of, then these are some of the energies that we have to pay attention to. And one of them is fear. So we have to make a decision that we're going to let go of fear. So letting go means releasing control over things that we really can't control, and perhaps things that we should not control. Even if we can control those things, sometimes you have to just kind of let loose and let it go. That made me think of a friend that I have, Angela Franklin. She has a yoga business, Freedom Yoga with Angela Franklin. And within her tagline or her slogan, there's the phrase, let loose. Sometimes we really do have to let loose. We If you look around today, so many people are so uptight about every little thing. So many people are so busy judging a person about some of the most ridiculous things. And one of the things that I think about when people are judging other people, I'm thinking, are you looking at yourself? Perhaps you should take a look at you, because you can't control what other people do. So when it comes to letting go, understand that it means releasing control. And releasing your fears, and also releasing old identities that no longer serve your purpose. So how do you know if an old identity no longer serves your purpose? If you've set your goals and the identity that you currently have is doesn't align with the goals that you set, then you need to pay attention to the identity that you're holding on to and make some decisions. We have to adjust that identity, release that identity, and let it go. Sometimes the identity has been put into us since we were kids. So there's some people who think that because they were born in a certain neighborhood, or perhaps in a poor neighborhood, they think this is how I'm supposed to behave. I talked to someone just last week, and she was sharing, and we're not going to really get into those stories, but she was sharing some very interesting stories with me about people who were born in impoverished areas and who grew up in those areas, and what they think about themselves. And so the point that I'm making, if you come from that, then you have to decide, well, if you want to have more, you have to shift your identity towards a value system that says you're willing to accept more, that you're willing to be more, not look at everyone else and judge everyone else because you feel inadequate. So this is what letting go really means. Now, letting go also means that you want to make some space for creativity, and make some space for clarity, and make some space for divine guidance. I did a Masterclass in December, and this month as well. I did a repeat of that Masterclass, kind of based on demand. People asked me to do it again, and so I did a repeat. And here's the thing. It's a part of a course called Identity-Powered Goal Setting, which you guys can take a look at that. You can go to designingyourlifetoday.com and you can find out more about it. And so the thing about it is, one of the things I talked about getting that clarity. And how do you know you have clarity? I talked about creativity. And most importantly, I went into a little more detail about divine guidance. We spend so much time attending classes and attending conferences and going to all of these different places so we can learn something new. And that's fun and that's wonderful. I'm a learner. I love to learn new things. We spend a lot of time doing that, and that's great. But what we forget is, at the beginning of all of that and at the end of it, is taking the time to engage in divine guidance, to listen for divine guidance, to pay attention to how you are being guided. So this is what letting go really means: making space for these things, making space for that clarity. Always doing, moving. You haven't made space. Okay, be still. It says, be still and know that I am God. So when you're still, all of a sudden you'll be surprised what happens if you can be still. And when you start to become more still, then you start to learn more about yourself. You start to actually discover more about the people that you're connected to. Not necessarily a bad thing, but a good things about them, and how you can actually have a better relationship with them. So the other thing that letting go means is sometimes letting go can involve an act of faith and alignment. So what does that mean? Well, an act of faith could be, and here's my caveat, I am not telling you to quit your job. You're an adult. You can make that decision on your own. But letting go as an act of faith sometimes means that I'm going to leave this job. If you've been miserable in this job for a long time and you're not moving forward and you're just not excited about life, and in your heart of hearts, you know this is not your purpose. So sometimes it takes an act of faith. Now, that doesn't mean you go, I'm stepping out on faith. I have absolutely no plan. Okay, get yourself a plan and then step out on the act of faith. People think that faith means you do things without planning. No, you just do it and it's going to work out. Well, that happens, but let's say that's the exception to the rule. That's not the norm. So get yourself a plan. There's my other caveat. But this is what another thing that letting go really means. Letting go as an act of faith or alignment. In other words, when you're letting go as an act of faith, or let's go back to the job. If you're working a job and you believe in your heart of hearts that I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur, I'm supposed to be running a business to share what I have with the world. Okay, so with the people I'm supposed to serve. That's alignment. When you say, okay, I'm leaving this job so I can do what I'm called to do. You're now aligning with your identity. You're now adopting a new identity or a part of a new identity that you're going to need. So these are the things that you want to pay attention to when it comes to letting go. Sometimes we look at people and go, or we listen to perhaps a pastor, or we listen to someone and they say something about you got to let some people go out of your life. That's your call. Okay. What they're doing is giving you insight. Okay. Giving you scriptures. So the point is you get to decide that, but pay attention to what letting go means. Don't let go of a person. Let's say, or I'll say it like this. You can let go whoever you want to. But I would say, don't think about letting go of a person from the perspective that, well, they're not good enough. And we're talking about like a friend. I don't get into the marriage. That's between you and who you're married to. So, but back to, I'm going to let this friend go because they're not good enough for me. Well, that's a bit snobbish. On the other hand, you can say I'm letting go of this friend because they're so super negative and critical of everything. And it brings me down. See, it's different. So you guys get to decide. All right. So now I'm giving you some insight into what letting go really means. Let's talk about some of the things that will slow you down as a result of not letting go. Perfectionism. And comparing yourself to other people, we have to let that kind of thing go. There's no one else I want to be other than me. There's no one else I want to be like other than me. Does this mean that you can't see what someone else is doing for a living or what their calling is and they're operating in it and it excites you and you go, wow, because you have a similar calling? Does it mean you can't learn from that person? Does it mean you can't respect that person's gifts and talents and what they've accomplished? Absolutely not, of course, because a lot of times we do need the mentors to help us with some things, to help us across certain hurdles. We do need coaches who've actually been there and done that, not someone who went to school and just got a certification and said, oh, I got this piece of paper by attending, I don't know, a 6-8 week course. I don't know how long they are. I'm certified, but I think mine took about 8 weeks. And the only reason I got that certification, and I always tell people, listen, I got the certification because it makes corporations feel more comfortable. Okay, it sends a message to them. Okay, she has a piece of paper in her hand that says she's actually learned something. But I was coaching people before it was a thing. In other words, before it became such a big deal and everybody was calling themselves the coach. I was doing it before I knew it was coaching. So with that being said, when we talk about you comparing yourself to other people, that's not what it's about. Be prepared to learn. There were people that I learned from who had excelled far beyond where I was at that time in my life, but I respected what they had accomplished. And you know what? I became a student and I learned. I didn't go in thinking, wow, they're so much better than me and comparing myself to them. No, I went in to learn. So that can slow down goal achievement, perfectionism, comparison, and paying attention to past failures. A lot of times we want to look at what we've done in the past and how we messed things up and how they didn't go right and how we wish we hadn't done that. Listen, I can't speak for you guys, but first of all, I've never met a person who hasn't made a mistake in the past. But speaking from my own experiences, you know what? I have had some failures. Okay, or perceived failures, as I like to call them, because I call a perceived failure, as long as you don't quit, What that is that is a lesson that you're being taught. Okay. But it becomes a failure if you just flat out give up, if you just quit and kind of spend your life licking your wounds. We've all done things we're not proud of, said things we're not proud of, made the kinds of mistakes, but these are supposed to be learning mistakes. Even if you go to the Bible, some of the greatest people in the Bible, the greatest biblical figures, they all made mistakes. Moses had a temper. He killed someone. Okay. So, and if you think about that, right? Okay. We all consider that to be a bad thing, but he made a mistake. He learned, and you know what? He was redeemed and he did something amazing. Okay. So, go read it for yourself. Right? He wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. Okay. And so pay attention to you and what you bring to the table. Here's another thing that slows goal achievement down if you don't let go of: emotional clutter, resentment, doubt, and unrealistic expectations. You know what? Unrealistic expectations. You know the funny thing about that? When we have unrealistic expectations from someone else, the question we want to ask ourselves is, what have we done, okay, to be on that level, to position us to a point where we can realistically or have these high expectations? How high have we gone? And even if we've gone to a certain level and we put these unrealistic expectations on someone else, something you want them to do for you so that you can feel better. If you put those kind of expectations on a person, that slows you down, because guess what? You're sitting back waiting for that person to step into a vision that you created. That's not how we're built. Okay. We're built. We can share our vision for another person. You know, you can say, I see you as a very successful person, or whatever you want to say to them. We can share that with the person. But here's the other side to that. If they decide that that's not what they want, then we want to respect that. Because if you're sitting back waiting for it, you're going to slow down your own achievement. Emotional clutter. Oh my goodness. People staying angry with someone from a past relationship, or your parents or guardian, or something that happened in the past, or a teacher. You know what? I got a boatload of those stories. You know what? Of people, if I wanted to really be that kind of person, I could just go down the list. But I choose not to. Is it a part of my life? Yes. Have I found a way to weave it into my life such that I can use it to share with other people? Was I angry in the moment? You better believe it. I was angry in the moment. Do I stay angry? No. And even if I mention it from time to time, that does not mean that I'm angry about it. It means I'm looking at it from a different perspective. As a matter of fact, there was something that someone did, and I had to correct something that they did where I was involved and I didn't know about it. So I had to correct it. And so when I went to correct that, it took me a minute, and it had to do with my identity. And it took me a minute to correct that. So once I got it corrected, I didn't talk about it the whole time while I was taking care of it. But once I got it corrected, I shared it with one person and said, you know what, this is why it seems like I've been putting some things on hold. And I didn't even go into the story in deep detail because it's not that important. Okay. I got through it. I learned a lot of things, and life goes on. I'm always going to want to move forward, you guys. If you want to achieve your goals, if you want to reach a certain level of success, this is what has to happen. So don't let emotional clutter hold you back, and resentment. It's so counterproductive. It takes your energy down very, very low. Doubt takes your energy down very, very low, because what you're saying is, I don't have faith. And in both cases, I resent that person for whatever reason, for what they did to me. You're saying that you don't have faith in your ability to build your own magnificent life, to regroup, recover, and build your own magnificent life. Well, I don't know you, but I'm just going to put it out there. You're built by design to win. So just take control of that. Now that you can control. Let's see what else that slows our goal achievement. anything that you allow to drain your energy. So I just finished sharing about the emotional clutter, resentment, doubt, and it goes on and on. The anger, hate, and these kind of things, which falls kind of under resentment, or vice versa. These kinds of things, they sabotage your momentum. They completely bring you to a standstill. Okay, it's not a good feeling. And I've been there, done that, okay, years ago. And I try not to hold on to things. And does that mean that things will not happen to me again? I don't know the future, but I'm in the present moment. I just do the best I can in the present moment. I trust God to handle the rest. Whatever comes my way, I know that I am strong enough to overcome and to go to that next level. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And if some of you are listening and go, wow, well, that's a bold statement. The Bible says, let the weak say, I am strong. So I'm always going to say, I am strong. Okay. So we've talked about what can stop your achievement. So let's quickly talk about, why letting go can actually speed up your success and speed up your goal achievement. First of all, when you let go, it creates mental and emotional, let's say bandwidth. Your mind expands and it starts to let in inspiration. All right. And then you will take inspired action. Secondly, it opens the door to new opportunities and solutions, because that's what it's all about, you guys, being solution oriented. And third, strengthens your confidence. And it also strengthens your trust in your God-given abilities. You go, wow, as you start to let go of things and accelerate and move beyond that, you find out that, wow, you are not only solution oriented, but you are an overcomer to the maximum and then some. Okay, so whatever comes at you next, again, you are now strong, right? Stronger. You're confident. The Bible says, get confidence, for it has great recompense of reward. Also, when you let go of what doesn't serve you, it helps you stay consistent instead of stuck into overthinking. Sometimes people will ruminate over and over and over on something that was done to them 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I've met people like that. And I can almost see the outcome of their life 5 years from now if they don't let it go. And not that I'm thinking anything bad, but it's just a given. They're going to be in the exact same space, and life is about change, and change is constant. So if you're stuck into constantly ruminating or overthinking about something that happened a long time ago, then life is passing you by. All the good things that you can grab onto, they're passing you by. Now, here's the caveat that I have to throw in here, and a little compassion. I understand that we all go through some things, and sometimes we have to get over things within our time. But if that's you, put in the time so that you can, in fact, get over it. Okay, so let's talk about some practical ways of letting go. And then I think we're going to wrap up. Journaling, that can help you. And you know what? Say a prayer to release your burdens. Okay. And declare a new identity. Okay. Declare who you really are. Embrace that person. And that person is connected to your gifts and talents. And you can write some new identity-based affirmations to go with it, to remind you, so you can feel empowered and inspired. Set boundaries against anyone that wants to take you back there, anyone that wants to keep you there. Set boundaries against any distractions that will prevent you from progressing forward. Anything that drains you. Okay, that includes draining commitments, because sometimes we have to let go of all the activities we're involved in because we feel guilty, or we think if we do all these things that it makes us a better person. I don't know if it makes you a better person or not. That's not my call. But if it's draining you and if it's preventing you from excelling and achieving your goals, building your magnificent life, having the success that you desire to have, that's in alignment with your purpose, your calling, that identity, that powerful identity that you have, then yeah, it's a draining commitment. And so you want to set boundaries against that. And finally, you want to celebrate your progress, any progress that you make. The tiniest little thing that you do, establish a reward system. And when you establish that reward, it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be something super expensive. It doesn't even have to cost any money, but you can come up with a reward system. This is how I'm going to reward myself. You're going to stop chasing perfection and beating yourself up. Oh, I didn't get that right, so this is why I didn't follow through. This is why I didn't get it done. Let that go. So when you let that go, you're going to see, put it this way, you're going to start to crack away at the blinders that have been on, or the shell that's keeping you from moving forward and being excited about your life. As I said, I've been through some things as we start to wrap up here. I've been through some things in my life where I can tell you, I could be very bitter. I could make a whole list of things, and I could be very bitter. I could find reasons to not win. I could find reasons to think that I'm inferior. I could come up with a bunch of those, but I refuse to do that. And so, you know what? I have, and I've shared this in a previous podcast. This has been probably a couple of years ago. And I talked about that, the fact that when I was much younger, I was in my 20s, and I can tell you, I had a little anger period going on there. I was angry at everything, and for no reason. Okay, I had a reason. I just didn't know I had a reason. But the point that I'm making is, at some point I made a decision. This is not my life. This isn't going to be my life. Not to mention, it's heavy. It doesn't even feel good. Okay. And being negative, it does not feel good. And when you recognize that you're built by design to win, when you start to really see, and I can tell you, it doesn't matter where you are today, what you're going through in your life, somewhere, even if it's even the stillest, most smallest voice inside you, there's something that says, you know what, this is why you're here on this earth. This is the purpose that you're supposed to serve. This is what you would love doing. This is what would excite you. There's something that's pushing you in that direction. In my case, it was writing. And it kind of started when I was in the military and I was overseas. So in my case, it was writing. And that allowed me, being able to write, that allowed me to slowly but surely break through some things and to see things in a different way. Not to mention some of the people, well, actually all of the people that I surrounded myself around, that I was connected to, that were in my circle and I was in their circle. Okay, they were very different. Their thinking was very different. And at one point, the circle I was in, there was always a problem. There was always lots and lots of complaints. So we have those two sides, you guys. And you just have to decide, and I don't have time to tell the story because I don't want to make this podcast too long. But the story talks about, which energy are you going to feed? And it's a story about wolves, so to speak. So, the wolf or the lamb, which one are you going to feed? You're going to feed that positive you. Let go of that stuff that's causing you not to win. It's not hurting the other person. It's not hurting anyone else but you. I take that back. You know who it hurts? It kind of hurts the people who need what you have to offer. Okay, now granted, God's going to step in and perhaps call someone else to pick up the slack, or pick up where you didn't leave off because you didn't get started, but someone else will come in and you'll look and go, wow, I could have done that. Well, if you could have done it, guess what? Today is a great day to start doing it. So with that being said, here's the thing. I would like you to just take a moment and identify one thing that you believe you need to let go of. Just one. Now, you can do more than one, but don't overwhelm yourself. Okay. But identify one thing that you need to let go of. And then, you know what? Take one small step at a time and take a small aligned action toward achieving that goal. When you take that small aligned action towards achieving that goal, for example, I don't know, for people who decided that they're going to become more physically fit this year, and you love sweets, and I kind of love sweets, you guys, but I don't eat sweets like I used to. But when I was eating sweets, all the time, I had to make a decision. And so the point I'm making is you can say, okay, I want to be more physically fit, but you have to take a small aligned action. So what would be one? Okay, instead of perhaps eating something sweet every day, I might have something sweet once a week. So think about that. Okay. And I just want to remind you guys that letting go, it is not loss. It is not failure. Okay. It is freedom. It's freeing you up to take you where you truly desire to be. It's freeing you up to take you where you actually belong. And with that being said, I want you guys to have a magnificent day and do life with power, because you're built by design to win. And if you carry out these actions, I have to say this, remember you guys, that means you're in the mix. You're paying attention to your own life. So you're in the mix in 2026.